Hey y'all, welcome to The Conscious Eye. Today we're going to get into a little history lesson. So when you think of history and the first people on Earth or the first people in North America, what do you think of?
Black people.
That's it? Just black people?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Black people, the Moors, I guess.
Okay.
Is that what you mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think when you think of like the first people of North America or South America, just the Americas?
Yeah.
What do you think of? Like, who were the first people in the Americas?
Yeah. Well, we were taught it were the Native Indians. I don't know if is that politically correct. Is that what they're calling them now?
No, actually, you're right. It's not politically correct to call them Native Americans anymore.
Yeah.
They're indigenous peoples.
Yeah. Well, that
Right? So Native Americans, Aboriginal people, indigenous people.
First Nations.
Not all of them are First Nations, right? Because they have like different tribes.
Is that a tribe? Okay.
Yeah, like the Métis First Nations. Those are like Canadian type of tribes, right? But yeah,
learn something new every day.
yeah. But we were taught that Native Americans are indigenous peoples of the Americas were here first, right? Then they were the first people that kind of found the Americas, and then it was colonized by who?
I don't know. You want to say white people?
European countries, right? Because European countries includes like Spain, who speaks Spanish, right? Like, so by like different European countries, the French, the Spaniards, Caucasians, right? And then when you think of like black people coming to America, we all think of, oh, they came on the slave ships. Is that what you were taught?
Yeah, that's what we were taught even till this day.
Yeah.
Still trying to teach it,
And they're teaching it because even with Black History, right? It's February, Black History Month. They talk about the slave ships and the Underground Railroad and all that stuff. And, they're not black people, or back then it was Negro people. But African Americans is what, we hear. Even sometimes Canadians would be like, oh, African American. Yeah. It's like, oh, or African Canadian or Afro Canadian or Afro Caribbean, whatever. But that's what we were taught.
Yeah.
But in actuality, that's all lies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lie. A lot of the things that we're taught are lies. They're just whoever decided to make these things up and spread it like wildfire. And I think there's like narratives and reasons behind it.
You got to get into the truth quick before one of these kids come in.
But yeah, the true history is it's a lie. So did you know the oldest skull found was in a Brazilian cave, and it was a female. They aged it around 20 years old, and they named it Luzia. They discovered it in 1975, but they didn't really get to the identity until the early 2000s. Do you know what kind of skull it was?
I guess in black, right? The way you asked it.
Well, yeah. Scientists and archaeologists expected to find, so there's three type of skulls: the Mongoloid skull, which are indigenous people, the Caucasoid, Caucasians, and the Negroid, black people skull. So they were expecting to find an indigenous American, right? But when they did all of the tests and everything, it wasn't that. And I bet some people might think, oh, maybe it was white people. They found white people here first, or Caucasian people.
Yeah.
Well, the oldest human remains found in the Americas was a Negroid skull. And they were shocked when they measured out the skull that it came back as a Negroid skull. And the recreation of it, there's a picture online, confirms it was a Negro woman, right? And after they found that out, they decided to burn down the museum because it was a threat to the narrative that black people came here on slave ships when they were already here. Black people in America are the true indigenous people of America.
Yeah. Wow.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's it makes you see things different. Like, yeah, it's like a whole new look, right? Just by getting new information, it can actually change your confidence or change your just how you look at things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you think about, one thing when you learn something like the truth like this, this big, you just start thinking about all the lies.
Right.
You start thinking about all the lies as well.
But then it changes your identity to think that, oh, my ancestors came here on slave ships when they weren't here, right? You were here, you built cities here, they burned everything to the ground. There's, documentation that says these European countries who gave the land, right? They enslaved the black people that were already here, and they gave the land to what we call now indigenous people. The indigenous people were not here first. They actually, their genetic bloodline, their genetics tracing back their ancestry, every single Aboriginal or indigenous person came from Siberia. That is where they rooted all of them from, was Siberia. So they came over to Alaska through the ice canal. I think this was after the ice ages or whatever. It was just an ice sheet where you can walk from Siberia to Alaska. And that's how they kind of emigrated from Alaska and then spread across the Americas. That's how they got here. They were, but the black people were already here first. So when you even hear a lot of Americans saying, oh, I'm not African American, I'm just Black American, my ancestors did not come from Africa. And then people are like, oh, they're so ignorant, like everybody came from Africa, or oh, they don't know anything, or, no, they're right. Their history was rewritten. So I can get the frustration to be like, no, I'm not African. I've seen interviews of elders saying, hey, my family did not come from Africa. We were here first. We were Cherokee. I think the man said he was from the Cherokee Nation or the Cherokee tribe. And they were indigenous to America. They're not from Africa. There's been even newspapers, right? Like I saw Kansas City newspaper clipping talking about the Negro race has billions in the U.S. of real estate, right? Because they've owned so much real estate, but their land was taken. And so what they do is they change history, right? Because even in the census, it was black and white, and then all of a sudden it's black, white, and native, right? Natives, they said, when you read the history book, real history talks about the natives having black skin, thick hair, big nose, or they call them the big-eyed peoples or whatever. But they delete it a lot. These evil people who rewrite history, they burn everything to the ground, burn the evidence, and rewrite history, rewrite the story. And it's all done to kind of keep black people down. And if they think they're coming from, and I saw a video too, if you think you're coming from, ancestors of slaves, or all you were slaves, when no, you were kings, you were queens, you had your own cities, your own land, you were successful, and they were threatened by that and wanted to, get rid of that. All that kind of trauma is ingrained in your DNA. And I think that's why black people today aren't where we should be, is because of that psychological or that mental slavery still. You're still in the bonds, you're still in the chains, not knowing your history, not knowing your true identity. Right? I think it is a, they call it a paper genocide. You erase your identity. It's that's why black people never get reparations too, because reparations goes from nation to nation. If you don't have a nation,
exactly,
how are they going to pay you reparations? They can only pay reparations nation to nation, and they stripped their identity. Right? They stripped their identity and enslaved people, and then told these outrageous lies about coming here in shackles on boats, right, from Africa, when no, they were here first.
You realize black people are the only set of people that claim to be everything.
What do you mean?
It's black people. Well, we're the real Jews. They're not the real Jews. They're the real Jews. I was like, they're not the real Indians.
Oh my God. No, but it's true. But black people are the real Jews. They are. It's true.
What else are we, bro? Tell white people. No, we're the real white people.
No. But that's the problem though, right? Like everything originates with black people and everything was taken from them. So yeah, we have to be like, we're the real Jews. No, we're the real Indians because we are. It was taken from us. Everything was taken from us.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and then evidence of burning things down, you know about Black Wall Street, right? Like an example that I'm sure a lot of people know. They burnt that down because they were threatened, right?
Yeah.
What do you do to someone who threatens you? You try to destroy them. And that is what they did. And that destroying them, I think, changed our, DNA at a cellular level, which is why Black people still undergo so much issues. And, there's still all that trauma and how we react. And we're the only community of people who aren't really there to support each other, like other, like the other Jewish community or like Indian communities that support each other, or Black people have a lot of ways to go, but I think it's because of this mental slavery of not really having an identity or knowing the truth about their identity, which is where CRT and all this other stuff comes into.
Okay.
But I think they don't want us to elevate and know our true power. And now I think we all need to start consciously awakening and see through the lies so that we can better ourselves and our life and our outlook on life.
Yeah. It's good to know, man. Yeah, so, start from the beginning,
Absolutely, and kind of break down the barriers.
Yeah, then everything else will fall in place as you tackle one by one, and then, more truths you learn is like putting together a puzzle,
Absolutely.
Then this piece will make sense, and then that will start making sense, and then why this happened would make sense to you, and why,
Absolutely.
Everything will start coming together.
Yeah.
Slowly, once you start to learn truth and look for more lessons on truth, and what really happened versus what we were taught.
And that's what we're going to do. Yeah. We're going to unlearn to relearn.
That's it.
And, time to walk consciously and elevate our minds and elevate our beings.
Yeah.
Out of the darkest deceptions.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go use the washroom.
All right. Until next time, have a good night.